welcome back to CTN. I'm your host, Robert Van Sluten. Let's get started. You may want to have some images in your app, and you may possibly want those images to have some behavior. For example, this one, if I tap on it, it'll toggle back and forth. This episode, we're going to talk about UIImageView and the tap recognizer. I've created a brand new project. It's called Beach and it's iPad only. I'm going to go over to the library and I'm going to drag in a image view. I'm going to resize it. I want an aspect ratio that is sort of like the images I'm going to use. And if I go over and look at the attribute inspector, I'll notice it wants an image, and it also wants something called a highlighted. There's two images. You can have the primary image and you can have a secondary image when something happens. You touch it or click on it, it can switch, and that's tap on it. And that's actually what we're going to do. We're actually going to have two images. You'll also notice that there's the attributes for view, and that's the superclass for image view. You can change those attributes also. I have two images on my desktop, and I'm simply going to drag them over to the project. And I do. I don't want to reference them. I'm going to go over to the attribute inspector. Well, I'm going to click on the background, the storyboard first, so that the drop downs are updated. I'm going to select Beach 1 as the primary image, and I'm going to select Beach 2 as a secondary image. Good so far. Now you may ask, why didn't I use the asset catalog? Well, it turns out the asset catalog doesn't support JPEGs. It only supports PNG. In my opinion, that thing is somewhat in its infancy and needs to evolve. And I only use it for icons and launch images. Let's go to the next slide and we'll talk about a few of the attributes of the view that we're going to change. Okay, I want to take a look at the attributes for the view. In other words, the attributes for the superclass of the image view. Now, you'll notice that there's this notion of a concept of a mode, and it defaults to scale to fit. What that means is the image is actually being stretched to fit whatever the size is of the view. I'm going to change that to aspect fit. So what it's doing now is it's doing the best it can to fit. In other words, the aspect ratio of the image is the same as its native image, and the view's aspect ratio is bigger in the vertical. I'm going to change the size to basically the size of the image itself. Now they're the same. And you can play with these. Simply a drop down. Now in terms of what these images actually are, they were shot with my digital SLR, so they're bigger than you want them to be. And using iPhoto, I reduced the size to 1024 in the longest dimension, the horizontal. That's the maximum recommended size for iOS images. Now, if you go up to the image view, you notice there's this checkbox that says highlighted. There's a highlighted bool property of image view, which basically is yes, no, that controls which of the two images is currently being displayed, if there are two. We're going to be toggling that based on a tap gesture. And we're going to talk about that in the next slide. Okay, you would think that if I went over and simply enabled interaction with the image view, that I would be able to drag in and create an action. However, it will not let me do that. And what's going on here is the basic rudimentary notion of the view being able to receive user input is enabled. But there's no mechanism available to actually handle the gesture. I could write some very low-level code to handle the tap either in the view or in the view controller, but I don't want to do that. I want something more advanced. If I go over and I drag in a tap gesture recognizer, put it on top of the view, I won't see much, but if I go down and I bring up the document outline, you'll see that gesture recognizer. It's a tap gesture recognizer. If I select it and I go over to the connection inspector, size, connection, you'll see that it actually is connected to the image view. Now, I can drag from that gesture recognizer, and yes, you can drag from outlines. I can drag from anything in the outline. It's like creating an action, and I'm just going to call it tap image. And I know that it's a gesture recognizer. It's a tap gesture recognizer. Go ahead and create it. Now I have an action. Not a lot of space here. Fonts are large. So now when that image view gets tapped, the action will get invoked. But now we're going to go to the next slide, and we're actually going to have to figure out what we're going to have to write in terms of code. Let's finish the app. First thing is, I did change the color of the background view to black. I also need control over the image view. In other words, I need an outlet. I went ahead and created one. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put some code in the action. It's in my clipboard. Paste it in. And what this is it says self.image.highlighted. In other words, the property that I was telling you about, if it's no, the image will get displayed. If it's yes, the highlighted image will get displayed. I set that equal to this C language construct where this expression, in other words, the current value of highlighted, If it's yes, what will come back is no. If it's no, what will come back is yes. It's your standard question mark, colon syntax. Let's go ahead and run this. The project will be on the website, cocotouchnetcast.com, and feedback on CocoTouch is always welcome. You can contact me through a contact link on the website, or you can put comments in on the YouTube channel, or you can contact me via Twitter at rvansloo. Okay, one thing to keep in mind that UIImageView also can do slideshows. It has this notion of an array of images, and you can control duration and repeat and so on and so forth, and you should take a look at the documentation. Thanks for watching.